So the first resource I want to share with you is the website where we have all of the content from this presentation that you will be getting, and resources for you, ways to get in touch with us and my colleagues. This is bit.ly/teachhomehub. And I will show you this website at the end as well, and the things that are available there. So I'm going to be covering the 5 principles for teaching from home, but I first want to talk about 3 important principles for helping children succeed in general. And these are coming from the book Helping Children Succeed by Paul Tough, but this is compiled from years of literature in education and psychology. And we know that these 3 things, a sense of autonomy, competence, and relatedness, can help children succeed. And we know that this is also even more challenging when we aren't in front of our students, when we're not with them face to face. We don't have control over our students' home environment the way we have control over the classroom environment. So to go through these 3 quickly, the first principle here is autonomy, and this is a sense of independence, of choice, and it's really important for students to have a sense of control and autonomy in order to be motivated to succeed. So as we go into this distance learning world, think about ways you can give your students some choice, some ownership in it, so they don't feel like they're just doing things that they have to do, that there's some independence and choice in that. The second is competence, and this is what students need to be engaged in activity. They need to feel like they're capable of doing it. If they don't feel like they're capable, they're not going to put forth the effort. If it's too challenging, they're not going to put forth the effort. And also think about the added stress that's in kids' homes right now, and this kind of different environment they might be in, that adds to that. So they need to feel like that with effort they can succeed, but it's not going to be too challenging that they're not going to try in the first place. And the third is relatedness. This is more important than ever. This is a sense of belonging. Students need to know that they are important members of your classroom community, and that you as a teacher value them and like them. And we can't motivate our students through grades or just kind of being in the same room with them. We have to do this through personal connections. They need to know right now that we care about them and we support them. And this is harder to do when we're not with them face to face, but it's all the more important that we are reaching out to our students, that they know that we care about them, that we're thinking of them. So keep those 3 things in mind as you're planning your instruction moving forward. And I'm going to talk about the 5 principles we have here for distance learning. And you'll see that the first 2, connect with students, connect students with each other. These are that relatedness idea, the building of relationships. And we don't know what our student's situation is at home, but we do know that it's probably very different than it was a month ago. Parents might be working from home, and that adds this stress to the environment, especially if kids are there and kids are trying to learn. Or parents might not be working, and that's a huge stress on families. So we know that it's really important for us to connect with students. They really need that relationship. They need that connection. Everyone's feeling isolated, so how can we help them with that? So I'm going to go through these 5 principles in a little more detail. So the first is to connect with students, and to connect with your individual students, not just the class as a whole, but that you're reaching out to make sure you're connecting with every student. We can't say hi to the kids in the hallway and talk to them in our classroom. So we have to be really deliberate with our communications with students. And the things that can be obvious to us as a teacher, that obviously we care about our students, we're thinking of them, that might not be obvious to our students. They might really need you to reach out to them and personally connect with them and know that you are thinking about them as an individual. So on this slide, see a few different ways that you can connect with your students. So one way might be a live video meeting like we're doing here, which you can do in Zoom, you can do in Google Meet. Some of you are using Schoology Enterprise, and with that you have the Schoology Conferences function. So that's a great way to be able to see people face to face, to be able to talk to them, for your students to see your face and hear you, see you, is really helpful in building those relationships. Messaging your students, so just reaching out to them through your LMS, so sending them a message through Schoology or Google Classroom, ClassDojo, Seesaw, whatever program you might be using, continue to use that program to connect and reach out to your students. And then email or phone calls, especially if you're not getting to your students through your usual connection, reaching out to parents that way, emailing or phone call can be really helpful in helping to bridge that gap. And then social media. If you are already using social media to communicate with your students and your families, this is a great way, obviously, to continue doing that, continue to build that community. So after you've connected with your students, you want to create opportunities for your students to connect with each other. And this, again, can be a live video meeting like Zoom or Google Meet, where your students can talk to each other and see each other. They're missing that, they're craving that. So that's a great opportunity to let them know they're not alone. All of their classmates are right here with them. A digital discussion is a great way to connect students with each other. So every LMS has a digital discussion tool. In Schoology, that's called a discussion. In Google Classroom, that's a question. And students can respond to each other, so they can all see each other's posts and they can have a conversation there. And that doesn't all have to be at the same time. It's whenever they might be online, they can leave a comment or communicate with their students. So that's a great way to just connect students and build a place for them to be able to talk together. And recording videos. So you as a teacher could record videos of yourselves, but your students can record videos too. And this can be something fun that they want to share, or sharing their learning and then sharing that out with their classmates as an audience. And you can do that in things like Loom, Screencastify, our Chrome extensions that allow you to record a video, or Flipgrid, where you can share videos as an entire class. And then finally, shared documents. If you have Google Apps using Google Docs, Google Slides, students can collaborate in those documents. So our third principle is to establish consistent routines. And your LMS is your classroom now. So this is your home base for everything. So you want to think about, how are you going to organize your materials? How will you organize that by day? Will you organize it by week? And that's going to depend on the expectations from your school as well, so that it's usable for students, that they understand what they're looking for and what the expectations are. And even if you don't have an LMS, choose a home base for your communication, so that there is this place where students know this is where they're going to get information. This is how they can communicate with you. This could be as simple as an email that you send out to your students, and they know that they can reply to that and communicate back with you, and that email has the content in it that they need. A Facebook group or a Flipgrid account where you can create and share videos with each other. So it doesn't have to be a Google Classroom, but if you already are using that, you definitely want to continue to use that. And then also, you want to work with your school to develop a consistent system. So I know everybody's figuring that out right now, but think about how, from the student and family experience, what it will be like if all of their teachers are kind of on the same page and there's a consistent structure, versus everyone's doing their own thing and there's different platforms and different expectations, or maybe everything is due on one day as opposed to spacing that out a little bit. So just things to help make the experience beneficial and not too stressful or overwhelming. And then as you begin creating your content, structuring your course, and thinking about routines, one thing that's linked on here, it says 5 E's lesson plan. This is linked on the website too. but this is one way you might structure your course and your content. So the first E, that stands for engage, and that's really just about, again, the building relationships, about asking students questions and getting them curious about things. And then the second E is explore. So at this point, students might do some of their own research using these endless resources that students have available to them to gather information and just explore content. And then the third E is explain. And this is where you might start narrowing down a little bit. And as a teacher, you can create an instructional video that you're sharing out with your students. And the fourth E is elaborate. So this is where students might take that content that they're learning and make connections with other concepts. So maybe solving a real world problem or documenting their learning. And then we have evaluate, and this is where you might have some kind of assessment for the students, or an exit ticket or a Google form. So that's one way you could think about structuring your class. And again, that's linked on the website if you want to see that in a little more detail. Or something even simpler than that. Read something, write something, say something. So for the things you want your students to learn, they would read, they would write, and maybe they record a video explaining it. Or more of a gradual release model where you as a teacher are going to create a video showing the instruction, so that kind of the teacher does part, and then maybe have the students collaborate together and as they practice, and then have the students individually do that on their own. So whatever format you choose, just try to be as consistent as possible and really clear with your expectations for your students. This is an example of a secondary routine. Again, you're going to need to modify this based on what works for you, what the expectations are for you at your school. But you could think about a different type of activity that the students are doing each day and having basically one learning concept for the week. So we have a topic that we're learning this week, and maybe on Monday we don't even talk about that. Maybe that's just our connection day where we have a video chat, or we just talk about the things that we're doing for fun, some way to connect with your students. And then maybe on Tuesdays is when you have your direct instruction. You can record an instructional video for students and share that out. Maybe you're hosting virtual office hours for students where they can come in and ask questions. And then on Wednesday, maybe that's a collaboration day where you have students working together in like a shared Google Doc, working on a project or task together. And then maybe you have a kind of share out day where the students are sharing the work that they've done, they're looking at each other's work, they're giving feedback to each other. And then maybe you have an independent learning day where students are working in an online learning program, if you have like a math program that students are practicing online, or maybe they're doing independent reading. So think about, maybe you want to have each day of the week have a different type of activity that they're doing, is one way to think about it. And this is an example for an elementary classroom. You could focus on one subject a day. Again, you can modify this as you need to, but maybe on Monday is reading, and you read a story in a live video meeting for your students, and then the students make their own videos of themselves reading. You can have a writing task where maybe you're creating an instructional video and you're modeling that process for them, and then the students do that on their own. For math, maybe students are creating a video showing how they solved a math problem, or showing how they perform a simple experiment and explaining that in a video for science. So just think about different ways you might structure that around the days of the week. Our fourth principle is to focus on engaging activities. And I would start with this by creating an instructional video. So the first three icons you see here, Screencastify, Loom, and Screencast-O-Matic, these are all free, simple screencasting programs which you can add to your Chrome browser, or Screencast-O-Matic, you can download and use it that way. And these allow you to record your screen or record yourself and create videos that then you can share with your students in your LMS. Students could also use these to create videos, to show their learning, share that out with you. So I would start there creating videos for students. What's great about that is that the students don't have to be live to get that content. So you could do this in like a live video meeting, and you'd want to record that so that students can go back and watch again. So when you create a video, they can watch it as many times as they want. They can pause it. They can watch it any time of the day. And then the bottom two programs there, Flipgrid and Edpuzzle. Flipgrid is a program where you as a teacher can create videos and share them out with your class, and the students reply to that. So the students also create videos and they're all shared together in the class. So this is a great way for students to be able to communicate with each other, to share their learning with the whole class. And Edpuzzle is a great tool if you are going to use instructional videos. You can put videos that you create or YouTube videos. You can put them into Edpuzzle, and Edpuzzle allows you to embed questions throughout the video. So the students will watch the video, it will pause, your question will pop up, and they have to answer the question before they can continue on in the rest of the video. So it's a great way to help students actually figure out what information they need to get from the video for you as a teacher to assess that, and you can also see how much of the video the students watched. So that's a great tool as well. So after creating an instructional video, would think about building your learning activities in problem-based or project-based learning, something that's going to connect students with the world around them and solve a real-world problem. And all of the things that you see on this slide are linked on the website. But I'll kind of talk you through them a little bit. So for math people, Emergent Math is a problem-based curriculum map for grades 3 through 11. An example, the intensity of chocolate milk is an example activity for 6th grade math, talking about proportions and ratios and chocolate milk. So some kind of just fun real world things to apply. And Would You Rather Math is a website that has K-12 questions where students are given this A or B, either or choice, and they have to use math to defend their choice. So they have to figure out how are they applying the math skills that they know to make a choice. So this one's asking them, which Cheez-It situation would you prefer? So if you want more Cheez-Its, then you're going to have to figure out which one is going to give you more. And in science and social studies, the STEM projects link, this comes from Learning PBL, and it has K-12 projects. Mrs. O's House Activities has a ton of puzzles and activities for students. And 50 ideas for PBL. This is a list of project ideas. So really just to get you thinking creatively, maybe spark an idea of something that you could have your students do. Same thing with High Tech High student projects, lots of examples in there. And they're not just high school projects, they're K-12. So even if you're not doing this full big PBL project or unit, this will give you some ideas to create some kind of real world activities for students to participate in. Sorry guys, I think I muted myself. So hopefully, I think you can. All right, can you hear me? Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you. So I'm going to move on to next one. So after you're creating these problem or project-based activities for students, think about then how you can build student collaboration and conversation within them. So first, you can start by using your LMS, so Schoology or Google Classroom. You can create a digital discussion in there where students can talk about the learning topic. They can also share what they've done. So they could attach their assignment, a file, a link, a video. And then there's an audience for the work that they're creating as well. So their classmates can view that versus just turning it into you as the teacher. And Google Docs, so also shared documents. So students can collaborate within a Google Doc, Google Slides. That's a great way for students to be able to connect with each other and build their learning collaboratively. Flipgrid I talked about briefly, but this is a great way for students to communicate, share their learning, and it's all through video. So it's a great alternative to it's so that your students aren't always just maybe like writing an assignment and turning it into you as a teacher. Have them talk about it, have them explain it. Also, remember that your students have the internet at their fingertips, so they will Google anything. So if the work you're asking them to do is something that they can just Google, they're probably going to do that. So you want to give them things that are going to be a little bit more engaging, and that goes, back to the problem-based activities. But also if you have them create a video, I can't really fake that. I have to be on the video and I have to talk about it. As opposed to if, they're writing something, they might just find that on the internet or copy from classmates. So I want to make it really real and authentic. And Seesaw, so this is great for elementary classrooms. Students of all ages can share what they're learning. They can create videos, communicate with each other. So that is a great tool, especially for like K2 grade levels. So the fifth concept here is less is more. And so I know I've shared a bunch of things with you and you're probably feeling overwhelmed, and now I'm telling you less is more. But first, think about less is more from a content perspective. You can't teach everything. You can't teach all the things that you were planning to cover this year. So you have to think about what are the most important things that you want to cover. So maybe that's one subject a week, or one lesson a week in secondary, so that it's not overwhelming to students. And one engaging activity or engaging problem for students to solve that's maybe more hands-on or has a few steps to it, that is going to be more engaging and less overwhelming than lots of little things. So if you give kids lots of little tasks that are kind of lower level thinking, that can get overwhelming because it's so many things. So think about less is more as far as content, and not so much like right or wrong answer activities. And then also think about less is more as far as the technology tools that you're using. So use what you already have, what you're already using. If you are already using Seesaw, keep using Seesaw, and that is your home base, your platform for all the things that you're sharing out. If you're using Google Classroom, you can do all of these things in Google Classroom. If you want to try something new, like some teachers are saying, okay, maybe now I'll try Flipgrid, and you feel comfortable with that, then go for that. Maybe try something new, but you don't want everything to be brand new because that's going to be overwhelming for everybody. So you don't have to use all the things I'm sharing with you. Find something that will work for you. And you also want to try and be consistent with your school, other teachers, so that if everyone is on Google Classroom, you probably want to be on Google Classroom too, for that consistency and ease of use for students and families. And then finally, encourage creativity in your students, to give them some choices so that everything isn't completely rigid. Having students use what's around them at home, make things personal, make it applicable to them. So those are the 5 principles. I want to go over a little bit how you can get support from me and from the other coaches at Communications by Design. And I'll also show you the website where we have all of these resources. So the first link, again, that bit.ly Teach Home Hub link, that's where we have all of the resources, things that you are seeing in the presentation today, as well as how to get in touch with us for support. And then we have virtual coaching. That's also linked on that website. I will show you that as well. Virtual coaching is available to you Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., one of us is there on the other end of the computer. So this is just a live video chat. So you can go in there, we can see each other, talk to each other. You can share your screen with us so we can walk you through any of the things that you're working on. You can also email us and call or text. We can respond to that as well. That's going to go to the virtual coach for that day, so they can respond to your phone calls and text messages right away too. So I'm going to click over to this bit.ly link. And this is, let me make this bigger. This is our Teach from Home website. There we go. And on this website, this is also where you will see the recording for today's webinar. So that will be posted later today if you want to access that recording. And we also have all 5 principles linked here on the website as well. So connecting with students, if you want to go back to that content from the presentation is in here, as well as links to the different tools that we shared. So you can look through here to go back to any of that content. We also have links and resources added here. So this is a page that has all sorts of resources. We have our tech tools database. This is where we have a huge list of different tech tools. So if you're looking for a tool to do something specific, that is a great place to look. We also have a link to a document of all of the education companies that are offering free resources to teachers right now. So that is a great place to check for something that maybe before you didn't use because you had to pay for it, and now they might have something that they're offering for free. We have tools listed by type and topic. So this distance learning tool is helpful here, as well as this database of online learning sites by grade level. And we have links to a lot of these things you saw in the presentation, links for project and problem-based learning to give you some lessons and ideas. A lot more of great ideas here, and then some templates. So the 5E lesson plan template, a Google Form daily check-in template, just some different ideas, Google activities. So lots of resources here. And then also on the website, we have Connect with a Coach. So this is how you can connect with us to get support. And when you click this, it will take you to our virtual coach page. And on this page is where you can schedule a meeting. So if you're a current client of ours, you can schedule a meeting here in Certus, but anyone can click this Talk to a Coach Now button and you can connect with us. And this is free, so you don't have to pay anything. So just click Talk to a Coach and you will be connected and we can help you. So that is your content here. I know Zach's been answering your questions. If anyone has a question that they just want to ask, you feel free to unmute yourself if you want to just ask a question. Otherwise, that's the end of the presentation, and I will be sharing that video with you guys as well.